In this video, I'm going to be talking about problem 4.6 in your homework. And before I actually get to the problem, I wanted to show you I cut out part of the balance sheet from your book on page 66, which I got from right here. So this is the balance sheet you'll find in your textbook, the full balance sheet on page 66. Now, the thing I wanted to also point out is this book is arranged kind of weird. So the balance sheet is on page 66, but the actual explanations for it are before that on page 64 and even before that. So the part that I wanted to talk about, or that we need to talk about for this problem, is explained right here on page 64. So the explanations for each of these a balance sheet and the statement of cash flows, and the other ones are actually before they show it in the book. So you sort of have to flip back and forth to figure out what all these line items are. So the one we're concerned with is this part that I cut out, which is the common stock the par value, the capital in excess of par. That's really what we're concerned about here, because that's what we're looking at in our problem. And we know what we're given here is the number of shares, authorized, but more importantly, the number of shares that were issued, the par value, which is $1, and then the capital over par, or the capital in excess of the par value. And they're asking us to compute or to calculate what was the market price per share of the stock when it was originally sold. Okay, well, in order to understand how all this works, let's just look at the one in the book first, and then we'll come back to our problem. So, reading from page 64, the next common stock equity entry is capital in excess of par, right here. Capital in excess of par is the original market price per share value of the stock sold minus the stock's par value times the number of shares issued. Okay, so if Acme originally sold 4 million shares, which we see right here, so these are this number here would coincide. This 4 million shares sold right here would coincide with the with what they're saying right here, 200,000 shares issued right here. So that's where they're getting that from right here. So the data that you're given in the problem is not, everything that we have down here. So this is why I'm showing you this, because it sort of helps us understand what's really going on up here. Okay, so let's just keep going. So we've got 4 million shares sold to the public for $4 each, and the par value is $1. So if the par value is $1, then the common share of the price has to be the actual selling price minus the par value, which is $3. So the price of the stock was $3 over or in excess of par, because $4 is $3 over 1, right? So when we multiply the 4 million shares that were sold times the $3 of the actual price of the stock, we get the 12 million for capital in excess of par. So we simply say, okay, 4 million times 3 is 12 million in excess of par. So this $12 million figure is the amount that the company received for the total stock that they sold in excess of its $1 per share par value. Because 4 times 4 is would be, if we computed the total value, it would be 4 million shares times $4, which would be 16 million. Okay. All right. Now, if we turn this around, if we didn't know, say we did not know what it was actually sold for, say this $4 was an unknown, which is exactly what the situation is in our problem, because it's asking what was the market price per share when the stock was originally sold. So if we think about it in our scenario from the book, right, and think about think about this in terms of this being the unknown. Well, it says right here, you can see that the common stock and the capital in excess of par values together represent the equity capital raised when the new common stock was sold. So it was sold for a price that's going to be the price per share, which we can do by taking the total numbers, the total dollar amount. So well, let me put in dollar right there. That'll make it easier to see. So this 12 million is the dollar amount that's in excess of par, that they got over par value, divided by 4 million, which is the number of shares they sold. That's going to give us the actual $3 that we have right here in excess of par. But then to get the price per share, we have to add back in that par value, which is going to be $3 when we divide here, plus 1, which is going to give us our value per share. Okay, so if we apply this to our problem, let's jump back up here. And we say, okay, we have, let me just actually grab this. I got it. Let me just, give me 1 second here, and I'll just scoot this up so we can see it where we need to see it. I can get all, there we go. So if we apply this same sort of process, we're going to say, okay, par value here is again 1. Is $1. There was actually, so this is kind of distracting here. Okay, let me pull this down. So this 400,000 shares that were authorized is a little bit of a distraction, because what you really can concern with was how many shares were sold or issued. So we take the dollar amount, or the capital in excess of par here, the money that they made over the par value, divided by the shares that were sold or the shares that were issued, and that's going to give us the price per share in excess of par, which is $2. Then we simply add back in the par value, and that's going to give us our $3 price per share. And that's problem 4.6.